I haven't done one of these quick tip videos in a while, so I figured I'd do a short one here. But people seem to like these. I'll link a couple in the description. It's just a video with some information. It's going to save you some time or money or both. Ideally, it's both. This one's used cars versus new cars. And usually these things come with a bunch of numbers, these videos. This one is no different, so I'm preparing you. But used cars versus, so nobody needs to buy a new car. This is, I would hope you realize this, right? You do not need to buy a new car. A new car is a waste of money. It's a luxury, all right? But there's a nice luxury. Every once in a while, it's nice. Some people buy a new car every single time. I don't buy new cars rarely ever, but I've owned a ton of cars. I'm 44, I've owned at least 25 cars in my life. I've always had 2 or sometimes 3 cars at a time. And I've bought 3 new cars, that's it though. 25 plus cars, only 3 of them have been new. An '07 BMW 335, I really love that car. I bought a 16 Toyota 4Runner. I did not like that car at all, and I bought this 21 Ram 2500. I love this truck. Now, other than that, I bought used cars, and they've always been a specific type. Well, 2 specific types. I bought very, very low mileage or very, very high mileage. I stay out of that 75 to 150 range, somewhere, depending on the car, but that's a good that's a good rule. It's a 75 to 150, very dangerous area. You really got to know what you're buying. When you buy a car with 125,000 miles on it, you better know what you got there. It should be, if you're going to buy a car with 125,000 miles on it, don't make it a car that's got like 4 different owners. You don't want that. You want a one-owner person, so you have the entire history. Because things go wrong right around that time. The transmission goes, or the rack and pinion goes, basically expensive stuff. So I try and go very, very low mileage or very, very high mileage, things that have already been done to it. I already had a rebuilt transmission put in 25,000 miles on it, right, ago, because it's at 175,000 miles, the car. But the tip that I want to give you is for used cars. First of all, that is a tip, really. Stay away from that. But the real tip is that if you drive a lot of miles per year, like my wife, 20,000 miles plus a year, if you're that type of person, you do not want a new car. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, I can't get it. I can't get a used car because I put 25,000 miles on. Well, here's the problem. You put 25,000 miles, let's say 20,000 miles a year on a new car, and you have it for 3 years. After 3 years, you got 60,000 miles on the thing. That's bad news. That's bad news. What you want is a low mileage car that's older. All right. And basically, I have a rule. It's a 5,000 mile a year rule. And a good number is a 5-year-old car, because it's going to save you. It's going to save you the most money, and you're still going to have a low mileage car. So, for instance, my wife, in 2018, I bought her a 2013 Subaru Outback. So it had 25,000 miles on it. So it was 5,000 miles a year, right? She drove it for 3 years, put like 60,000 miles on it, and we traded it in with 85,000 miles thereabouts, and it was an 8-year-old car. So you're talking about a little bit more than 10,000 miles a year. It's still a low mileage Subaru Outback. When we came in with that car for a trade-in, how many miles did I? 85,000 miles. Oh, it's a 2013. That's low mileage. That is great. You're going to recoup the most amount of money possible by trading in a low mileage vehicle. You go and trade in a car that's 3 years old and it's got 60,000 miles on it. People don't really want to buy a 3-year-old car with 60,000 miles on it. They want to buy a 3-year-old car that just came back from lease with 36,000 or less miles. That's what they want. Maybe 45, but somebody's got that 15,000 mile a year plan. But most of the time, they want to see 30 to 35. They don't want to see 60. So it's bad news. If you drive a lot, you do not want to buy a new car. You want to buy that 5,000 mile a year car. Now you might be saying, okay, well, I don't want that 5-year-old car because it's the older model or something. The model that I want is the current model. Okay, well then you got to look for a 2-year-old car with 10,000 miles or less on it. That's right? Or a 3-year-old car with 15,000 miles or less. It's going to allow you to recoup the most money. We took that car, that Subaru Outback, we traded it in for we traded in 2021, we traded in for a 2016 Grand Cherokee. And that had about 25,000 miles on it. And, in a couple of years or a year or so from now, maybe a year and a half, we'll trade that in. And it's going to be a low mileage Grand Cherokee, and we're going to get the most amount of money possible. The dealer's going to be like, wow, this is a low mileage car. I'm like, yeah, even though my wife drove it like crazy for the past 3 years. So that's the key. That's the key to driving a lot per year. That is the key. Buy older cars with very low mileage on it. They're tougher to find. Maybe you gotta compromise. There's some compromises there. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes you can just get lucky and find the exact one you need, but exact one you want. But you got to search, and you can't be scared about driving a certain distance. So that's another thing. I think the one that we got, the Grand Cherokee, was 2 hours away. And that's not that bad, really. We just took a drive out there, and the first time we went out there, we took the Subaru. We brought it out there because in reality we knew what we wanted. We saw it online. We saw the mileage. We knew that this was a very, very good value for us specifically. That's another thing, is that the low mileage older car is way more valuable to someone that drives a lot of mileage. So you could see one that's got 25,000 miles on it in the case of, let's say, the Grand Cherokee, or you see one that's got 45. And they might only be like, they're comparable looks-wise and everything, but they're only $1,000 difference. And the $1,000 is because of the lower mileage. It's worth a lot more than $1,000 to someone that puts a lot of mileage on. That's 20,000 miles extra, right? That's incredible, right? So you see that low mileage, you do it. And we just went there. We knew we were going to trade it in that moment. Obviously the dealer didn't know that, but we were going there to trade it in. So you make one trip, you decide, as long as you don't see anything a problem. But that's why I go to a dealer usually. So that's it. That's the tip. I hope it helps you out. Stay away from the new cars unless you're really, really serious, and you got the money. If you got the money, if you got the money, go for it. Spend it like crazy. Spend the money. But if you don't got the money, be careful on the new cars. All right, everyone. See ya.